So this is the video that I've been trying to do for absolutely ages now. This is showing the technique of how I use FoilDrive to prone downwind. I'm going to show a whole load of clips of me taking off, some successful, some not successful. Those ones are really good to demonstrate the pitfalls, things to try and avoid doing. But yeah, it's been a long time coming because trying to find the right conditions, somebody to drive the boat for me, all adding up at the same time has just been really tricky. So on this day, super light wind conditions, super small swell, but let's get into it and see what I can show you. So I'll start off by showing a pretty much picture-perfect takeoff. Very, very small swell, so it's difficult to see what's going on, but what I'll do is I'll replay that in slow-mo and just take you through it again. Unfortunately, on this clip, the bumps are so small that it really is almost like getting up onto foil on flat water. But the reason I'm showing it is because it's a really nice example, probably the best clip I've got, of the actual prone pop-up technique. But the principle of getting up onto foil when downwinding is pretty much exactly the same as when you're catching a wave. You've got to match the board speed with the swell, with the speed of the bump that's coming behind you, and when you feel that push or the board beginning to glide, then you know you can pop up. If you don't match your board speed to the speed of the swell, then it's going to slow you down, drag you back, even to the extent where it pulls the board underneath the water, and of course that's going to stop you dead, and if you carry on accelerating, then you'll just waste battery. So I'm going to show you a couple of failed attempts here, and hopefully seeing them both you'll see that by trying to stand up before the board is actually matching the speed of the swell, then it's dragging me back, pulling the board underwater, failure. So have a look at the next one as well. Here we go, trying to accelerate. I'm nowhere near got my board speed up enough, and as the bump goes underneath me, it pulls the board underwater. The next one's a successful attempt, and what you'll see is that it's not that much different from taking off when you're catching a wave. In principle, it's exactly the same thing. You've got to wait for the push from the wave or the bump behind you, and that's when you pop up. But knowing when to do that when you're downwinding is very different from when you're in a lineup. You've got clearly defined sets or waves coming behind you. So let's have a look at them in slow-mo. I'm waiting for a trough to open up in front of me. There it is. I'm already accelerating, so I've got speed up. I've got the push from the bump, and there we go, I've popped up. The only trouble is that if you wait before you accelerate until you've seen the trough forming in front of you, then you've left it too late to accelerate, and the chances are you won't pick up enough speed by the time the next bump gets to you. So looking at it again, even slower motion this time, you'll see that I turn across at an angle. Now that helps to prevent the bump that's just gone underneath me from pulling me back and slowing me down. I'm already travelling at speed by this point when I see the trough appearing in front of me. So then when I feel the board start to glide or be pushed by the bump, the next bump, then I know that it's okay to stand up and finally ollie up onto the foil so that I can start actually riding the swell. Okay, this next clip shows quite a successful fast pop-up, and I'll play it in slow-mo again and take you through it again. I'll just show you it in normal speed once, and then we'll go to slow-mo. Okay, so I'm just ticking over at about 20% throttle at the moment, just looking around, waiting to see that trough appearing in front of me. As soon as I see it, I really hit 100% throttle straight away, and I start to lean forward on my board so that as the bump comes behind me, it's much more likely to start me gliding as it pushes me. And I've felt that little bit of a glide, so I then do the pop-up, and stand up and get on foil. This next one shows another principle that's really, really helpful, and that's just keeping the nose of the board down for as long as you need to get the speed up. So there, that prolonged amount of time gliding along the water, as long as you don't feel like the board is being pulled back, then you're fine to carry on. So let's have a look at that clip in slow-mo. I do start to accelerate pretty much at the right time, but the swell is so small here that you've got to really pay attention to technique. And what helps is to really push down on the nose of the board to keep the board flat. You can see the trough appearing in front of me, and I'm still the whole time chasing that peak of the next bump in front of me. As long as you can keep up with it, then it's okay. And to help you do that, keep pushing down on the nose of the board, keep the board flat on the water, and that'll help the bump behind you to push you rather than from going underneath you. So that's something that can really help, especially if the bumps are really, really small like this. This next clip shows a couple of things. First of all, just letting a bump go underneath you if it's the wrong one. Don't just carry on accelerating regardless. You'll feel when there's a good time to accelerate, like then. But even then in this clip, I didn't have enough speed really, so luckily I was able to stand up without the board sinking, and then just a few pumps of the board to help pick up speed and get on foil. So I'll show that again slower. So even with this clip in slow motion, it's quite difficult to see what's going on, so you may have to play it back a couple of times. I'm waiting for some bumps. I'm ticking over with the throttle. A bump comes along. I start to accelerate at the wrong time. It starts to pull me back, and then another bump behind it. So now I accelerate fully again, trying to lean down on the nose of the board, popping up too early really without enough speed, and as such I'm lucky I don't completely come to a standstill. So what I do is I just pump on the board a couple of times just to help get up onto the foil, and luckily in this case it was enough to just about get me going. So I also just wanted to show you that it's not absolutely essential to ollie up onto foil immediately that you stand up. With FoilDrive you can carry on partial e-foiling for a bit first. So there you go, I've stood up, I'm not ollieing up, I'm just waiting until the right moment, which is there. And I'll just show you that a bit clearer in slow-mo. And again, this is a good example of how FoilDrive can help you get up in ridiculously small swell. It's almost like getting up on flat water, this one, but you can just about, especially towards the end of it, you can see that I am chasing a trough, and you can see it forming just about. I'm staying on the board until it opens up, so I'm not trying to ollie up onto foil. See, I'm still chasing it, still e-foiling. Nice bit of swells opening up in front of me, so I then ollie up onto it, and that gives me the best chance of starting and maintaining a glide rather than having to pump like crazy to stay on the bump. Okay, so now I'm going back to showing you what not to do. So 2 failed attempts, one after the other, and in this case I'm accelerating at the wrong time. So as the bump goes underneath me, I'm accelerating, and it goes underneath me, surprise surprise, and pulls me back. And again with this one, accelerating exactly the wrong time in both cases. As the bump goes underneath me and as it comes out in front of me, it just slows me down, pulls me back and sinks the board. So definitely 2 cases of what not to do. Right, so I'm now just going to play the next clip, which includes I think about 6 pop-ups and a little bit of pumping in between. I stop each time simply because the name of the game in this session was for me to do as many attempts at getting on foil as possible, so that I could just show examples. And feel free to pause, rewind, play again in slow-mo. YouTube lets you select playback speed settings, so you can slow it down yourself if you want to. So yeah, I hope you find this helpful, and please, 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 if you've got any feedback as well as questions, obviously I'll answer questions that you may have, but if anyone's got any feedback or suggestions, then, you know, I'm by no means am I an expert at this. I know there's loads of people out there who have got, you know, more experience, more skill than me, and if there's anything that people can suggest that you think would help me, then I really would be very grateful. So yeah, all the best, and hope you enjoy the rest of it.